This is the Adelaide CBD. This red line is North Terrace, Rundle Street, Grenfell Street. Come out this way. This is Mobbery, and the green line is what is now the O-Bahn with a Paradise interchange. Stop at Glenelg and into the city. This yellow line is the Glenelg Tram line, which used to be a railway line. This other yellow line is the second railway line which used to run to Glenelg. So Glenelg used to have two train lines running to it. In the 1920s this one was removed, and this train line was turned into a tram line, and the tram was duplicated with two tracks instead of one track. The train used to run down the street of King William Street, so it was a street train, and similarly this was a street train with all the problems you have with intersections and delays for travel by cars and people each time a train or tram passes through. In the 1960s, the Playford Liberal government proposed to improve Adelaide's transport in what was called the MATS plan, Metropolitan Area Transport Study. A lot of noise is heard about the road parts of the MATS plan, but there was also the rail parts, and the MATS plan proposed to have an underground railway line going from Goodwood following the same track as the Glenelg Tram as an underground railway going underneath King William Street to near the Adelaide railway station, and at that point have a train go up past North Adelaide and out through the area of farmland at that stage to the new proposed suburb of Modbury. Modbury, basically this stage, was just vineyards, and at the same time they also proposed the building of a highway to this development of Elizabeth, which Playford was building because the General Motors had established a big plant there. So the so-called Modbury Freeway was actually going to go to Elizabeth and not to Modbury itself. At this point is an interchange, but a more famous interchange is the Hindmarsh interchange, where the roads would have a 4-level flyover. The same thing was going to happen at Gilberton. So Gilberton is a very important point of Adelaide's transport. The link between the Hindmarsh interchange and the Gilberton interchange was going to be a tunnel underneath the parklands. The Dunstan Government put a hold on the MATS plan, but decided to look at the public transport section of it, not to proceed with the road transport section. This proposal was part of what's called the NEAPTA, North East Adelaide Public Transport Review, and you can see that there were two ways they're looking at bringing trains from Modbury using the same corridor as the O-Bahn does now. At Gilberton, going through lower North Adelaide as a tunnel underneath the roads and into the city that way. This section of tunnel is actually the way that the O-Bahn Access Tunnel is getting access into the city. Now when we look at cities around the world, having all the transport at the same level on the street is just not viable. New York City, like Adelaide in the 19th century, had trains running down the streets. This was very unpopular in Adelaide and was also very unpopular in New York City. In Adelaide, in many cases, we removed these railway lines, but in the case of New York, they actually decided to shift them so they actually go underneath the roads and then underneath the parks. This area here is Central Park, which when you look at it in photographs you cannot see any roads or railway lines. The roads actually cut across as cuttings, and when you're in the park you cannot see the buses and the cars travelling through these traverses because they're actually in cuttings which are below the sight line. In many cases there are bridges across these, so that when you walk in the park you are walking across a roadway and you don't know that you're up above a roadway. When we're staying in New York, we were staying at a place just here on Amsterdam Avenue, and this is Broadway. Underneath Broadway the 1, 2 and 3 trains travel, and this station at 96th Street is an all trains stop at that point. There are 4 tracks underneath Broadway. At this point, which are the black stations, only local trains stop here, and the express trains proceed through to the next stop at 72nd Street. And similarly, underneath 5th Avenue there are 4 tracks as well, which are carrying the A, B, C and D trains. And again, this is a all trains stop, but this is where only the local trains stop. We can see that the 2 and 3 trains continue on underneath North Central Park as a tunnel, and underneath the houses which are in this part of Manhattan. At 7th Avenue, the N, Q and R trains travel, and at this point the tunnel is a double-deck tunnel where 2 tracks are on the upper level and 2 other tracks on the lower level. So this at 57th Street is an all trains stop station, whereas this at 5th Avenue only local trains stop there. There's another set of tunnels for the F train. The F train actually is a driverless train, but for union reasons the train driver is still there, and all he does is open and close the doors, but it's actually a driverless train. As well as a subway system. This indicates the existence underneath Park Avenue of the trains which come from upper New York State and other places which go to Grand Central Station, and these trains travel underneath Park Avenue. So New York City has solved the problems of trains and trams by moving them underneath the city in the CBD part of New York City. In the boroughs, which are very similar to the suburbs of Adelaide, the trains of the subway actually are above ground. Just like the O-Bahn, the trains have no intersections with humans or with motor vehicles. There is complete grade separation of the subway system in New York. Torrens and the new bridge being built as part of the O-Bahn Access Tunnel. This is a bridge over the River Torrens, a separate section away from the tunnel, which is further down Hackney Road. Hackney Road, bridge over the River Torrens. Buses coming out of the O-Bahn onto Park Terrace, going up towards the River Torrens. Friday afternoon. Bus from the city going into the O-Bahn.